Welcome into the Real Kyper and Bourne show. We are live on Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6, as always. And download our show when you can't catch it live. Right, Sammy? Come on, snap out of it, Sammy.
Correct,
The weekend's
Kyper.
over, buddy. Your Bills lost. Your Leafs lost. Snap out of it.
I'm not even a Bills fan. I root for the entire AFC. I like the conference. So I
That's
root for
the
that.
most pathetic thing I've ever heard.
I don't really care about any team, but I like all the AFC teams, so I root for the whole conference. So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. Listen, I don't know what to tell you. But you guys have a good weekend outside of the sports?
Good weekend. Justin Bourne. We got
Yeah.
Frank the Tank. We got Derek Brandale. We got a great 2 hours. We're going to dissect the Toronto Maple Leafs in the second hour.
Yeah.
We'll bring it to a wider picture on what the heck's going on in Chicago. We're going to have I think a good conversation on Corey Perry.
I don't know that we are.
Yeah, we are.
Does anyone?
No,
are
I'm
we?
telling you, we are going to have a
hey,
very
listen,
good
if
conversation
you're the boss, man. I'm
on
just
Corey Perry.
I actually am the producer, and I might nix that conversation.
We'll see where that's going.
Okay.
Okay.
Who do we have in the second hour?
Brian Lawton.
Brian Lawton.
Yeah, old friend.
Mr.
alert.
Everything.
Yeah.
Former NHL player, agent, general manager, analyst. This guy's done it all. So he's going to help us figure out what's going on in Edmonton and Chicago as well. And of course, JB.
Yeah.
We go from a ton of momentum coming out of Sweden, and then 7 days later, it's like a distant memory.
Mm-hmm.
All that energy coming out of Sweden, King of Sweden, Willie Nylander, all of it. They go to Chicago, manage to lose a game in overtime, albeit get a point. But now they come home off of a regulation loss Saturday night, dropping a 3-2 decision to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And where are we today?
I mean, if you look back at those Sweden games, I don't think we sat down in here and went, they were great, weren't they? They sure looked great. So I think we're kind of where it was headed, but we're not in a great place. If you're a Leafs fan today, I don't think you feel super positive about things. Maybe you don't feel terrible. You're in there on the game on Saturday. You get a point on Friday, but you don't feel good today.
Mid.
I would say that's exactly how I feel about the Leafs right now.
So we got a ton to cram into this Leaf Edition hour on our show.
Yeah.
You guys want to get into like the nuts and bolts of Saturday night, or do you want to go? Why the heck did Brad Treliving speak today?
Well, that's interesting too. Why don't we start with the game Saturday and then get to the big picture stuff?
Okay, you know what?
Unless you don't want to.
No. I'm so nervous right now that we're going to start on things that we liked or didn't like Saturday night. We're going to run out of time. That's
that's true too.
So, okay, why don't we start with Saturday night? Because for what? How many times now? Is this the sixth time this season where Austin and Mitch were both held without a point? Is that where you start off of Saturday night? Like at the end of the day, we can sit there and break down a few different things that we saw out of it, but is this what people are talking about?
This is it. Yeah, it's the first line struggles. And it's not just that they haven't that they didn't score in that game. It's that the process underneath the results are not good. Kip, right now, this group, Jonas Siegel, his article today mentions that there's 8 lines on the Leafs that have played 30 minutes. This line that you're talking about, the top line, the Matthews and Marner line, is second from the bottom in terms of generating shots. So they're not generating anything. Only the Reeves line generates less than them. So it's process, not just results for me. They are performing poorly, legitimately. So, that is a major issue.
How can that be? How can there? And listen, I only go by my analytics is optics, right? What I see, and I told you that I've never seen them without the puck less.
Yeah, that's what you don't like. They don't have it ever.
That to me is the biggest concern. Is of course I've never seen Mitch Marner in the past 5 or 6 years chasing the puck like I have this year.
Well, one thing I think of, and this is not to excuse Matthews and Marner, but like Hyman's job was go get it. Go stop BF1 and stop the breakout. And Bunting, you don't have to love him, but he went in hard after the puck, at least got tangled up. And, Marner and Matthews like to come through his F2 and pick that puck clean and start it. I don't know that Nyes does that the same way for them. He's another guy who's probably more like them in terms of likes to shoot it and likes to have it.
He's just trying to figure out his game at the
Sure.
NHL level, isn't
Sure,
he?
he hasn't played 20 games in the league yet. Well, maybe yes, whatever. Hasn't played 30 games in the league yet, whatever number you want to set it at.
You're close.
Thank you.
Whatever it is, you're very close.
I'm in the ballpark. So, yeah, that is maybe an issue. But I do think that excuses them a little bit when they turn the puck over. It feels like every time they have it, they feel disconnected. They feel distant. They're not tight. So, no more.
To me, the Marner conversation amongst my buddies, amongst Leafs fans on Twitter and text line, everything that we get has reached a fever pitch here now.
Well,
Marner.
we know where it's heading. That
he's in the crosshairs.
He's going to be your buddy's whipping boy right now.
Well, Klingberg's hips don't work. They don't have a traditional guy that they can put everything on at the moment. Reeves has been in and out of the lineup. That's a conversation piece that's been taken away. Bertuzzi's
Why
been
is
better.
that? Why is it you and your buddies go to Mitch Marner first and put the weight on him? And where is Matthews and even Tavares to a lesser degree? And Tavares, for the most part, has been producing, but why Marner before Matthews?
To me, this year more than other years where they've taken it on the brunt, I think both of them are more deserving this year than it has been in years past. I think a lot of years past, people maybe got harder on Marner with the Matthews production, and it was easier to kind of point to Marner. I don't know what it is about him. Listen, it's a personality thing. I just think it's a lot of the way he is. I don't know what makes the difference between him and Matthews, but it's there.
Always gets a little bit of a free pass compared to Marner.
I think part of it is if your job is to be kind of the silky facilitator guy who handles the puck a lot, when neither of them are producing, you feel like you're getting more out of the bigger guy who hits people and wins faceoffs and has like a bit different element. For Marner, when it's not happening on that offensive side, it's tougher to see what he's doing well.
To your point, I've always said that, and I don't know, sometimes you've agreed and sometimes you probably haven't, but if as Austin has said on our show, if Mitch is going, he's the stick that stirs the drink.
Yeah,
and it just seems like even Willie's having a career year. He's been awesome, but it's not good enough to drag everybody with him. Marner's had more of the effect of, I can take more people with me with my play than possibly anybody else on the roster.
And
I also
is that fair to say?
Go ahead, Barney.
Well, I just think the difference too, Kip, is like Matthews' numbers kind of look like, even though he's had 3 hat tricks and that's why his numbers look good, they kind of look like what you expect. Like he's at 14 goals, which is second or third in the league. And, it kind of feels like he's kind of on track to have one of his seasons, whereas Marner, we haven't seen him. What did he have last year for point streak? Like 23 games, 25 games, whatever it was.
Record.
Yeah, and he's had points in 2 of the last 7 games. So it just feels like
good.
That's not who Marner is. He only has 5 goals, on pace for his rookie season numbers.
And Matthews is right there beside him, right, with those same similar numbers.
Yeah, points-wise he is, but not goal-wise, which is what you think of Matthews, I think. So it just feels, I don't know, it feels like the production for Marner is not the same, even though you're right. Statistically, they're not too far off from one another.
But I think to your point, Kyper, that the high end of Marner is one of the best players in the league. When he's going, I guess is the clip that we use all the time. And when it's not there, I think it's just that he's set such a high standard for himself that all Leaf fans kind of know what he looks like when he's going. And when he's not, it's really noticeable. And like you said, he drags the whole team with him when he's on it, and he just hasn't been on it. And he's got the points he's producing, which it's hard to really, quantify. I don't know really how you do it, but it just hasn't been good.
On that subject, let's go to Sheldon Keefe for our first Kyper's Clipper of the week. Clip 1.
From Keefe.
No, I mean, all guys want to score. Guys want to win. I thought that line was good today. That's interesting, right? We're getting all sorts of questions about these guys, and I think we all agree that they could, they can play better. They've set such a high standard, they can play better. But yet here we are, one of the many reports I get before every game. I'm reading through them here before the game, and I look at one of them. I look at is our 5-on-5 scoring this season, and at the top of the list is Mitch Marner. So, guy here that we say is, hasn't played his best hockey and has all the hardest matchups every single night, yet is at the top of our team in 5-on-5 scoring. So it's interesting how it all works out. We'll stay building our group and building our game, but let's not pile on the negatives here.
You know what? I'm glad he said that, because I think if you start piling on, if it's one thing within social media or what talk radio or whatever you want to call it is out there on Mitch Marner, but if that guy starts piling on Mitch, Mitch is the one guy that I think is ultra sensitive, that it could even drag him down even more. And Kelly Rudy, I think, had a clip Saturday night on just his body language, and you can just see how it's wearing on the guy. He's not having any fun. There's no joy. I'm not sure where he is in his space right now, but fun on his meter is really on the low side.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that I see in my own social media, Kip, is people saying, about a clip like that from Keefe is like, why do these guys continually get that pass? And that's great from Keefe that he's doing it verbally there.
Yeah.
I think that the complaint isn't the verbal part. It's that if they're not working for a game, can we send out power play 2 to start a power play for a shift? Could we not have them out there on a back-to-back for 24 minutes in a game or whatever it may be? I think there's frustration because you talk about accountability. People don't feel like Kucherov gets benched in Tampa Bay or Meyer gets benched in New Jersey. We just never see it.
We've had this conversation.
We have.
I don't get it.
I
don't understand
no
it.
matter how they play.
You're right. So before you attack anybody verbally, how about just doing the one thing that means the most to them and take away their ice?
Yeah. That should happen at some point. And I guess the next solution there is a bigger picture one is shuffling them up. And they've done that, right? As of tomorrow night, word is that Nylander has gone up and taken Marner's place. Marner's going to play with Tavares and Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi, by the way, has been the best of the top 6 outside of Willie.
Yeah.
For, I don't know, the
6 or 7 games. Yeah. All right, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on the clip 2 on shuffling the lines.
I just were coming back off 4 road games in a row here now and come back home. So it's a chance to kind of reset. And obviously we've been talking a lot about that group. Just been great reluctance on my part to make a change to the Tavares group in particular, and with Willie in particular, who has really found a nice groove. His game's been going so well that you're reluctant to make a change to him in his situation. You don't want to affect guys who are rolling and feeling good in order to boost other groups. But I think the time is right, and even for Willie himself, he's since coming back from Sweden the weekend, I don't think it's gone as well for him. So just the timing is right there.
Okay, it's really just a change that we've seen how many times over the course of 5 years, when it's like either Willie with Matthews or Willie with Tavares. But is that really a big change?
Well, there's 2 things I hear in that clip, and I agree with you first on that, where it's like, you're not reinventing the wheel here, bud. You're flipping the wingers that you do once or twice a year every year.
Yeah,
so I agree with you on that.
Anyone on your beer league decide what the lines, they're like, flip these guys.
Flip the lines, yeah. The other thing that, listening to him say there and kind of bringing Willie into it is that maybe he is trying to soften the blow again for Mitch, that it's not the reason they're changing it is for Mitch. Like, Willie's been really good in both games since coming back. Did he play 26 minutes on Saturday night?
Yeah, it's interesting. He said
Listen, I've said this about Mitch Marner. Nobody should be playing 26 minutes. It's too much.
It's absurd.
But Willie played 26, a career high by 2 minutes for Willie.
I know.
Which is a 2-minute career high.
But if you don't think he's good, you're not going to be playing him 26 minutes. So I don't necessarily believe him when he's saying that that's one of the reasons he's changing it.
Right.
Is what I'm getting at here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
You don't play a guy 26 minutes if you think he's no good.
Hasn't been great since we came back. Get back on the ice.
Shoot another one in the net.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him shuffle 9 guys up and don't designate a bona fide number 1, 2, or your third line. Have 3 mids. Seriously.
No, I completely agree.
Have 3 mids and say, guys, Stop chasing your points. Stop acting like cookie monsters.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't matter. If we lock up, if our analytics tell us we are doing better jobs of taking away the slot chances, what's the big, like, who cares if you give up one glaring or two glaring errors every night that end up in your net?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, how about tomorrow night against Florida? Try to win a game 1-0. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when I watch, you go up 1-0 in Pitt, and I don't know if you remember the goal clearly, the Gensel tap in.
Yeah, sure do. That was
It came
atrocious.
off 200 feet of just a colossal error, and I think Kevin Bieksa talked about, maybe
Brody not taking.
Yeah,
his guy,
exactly.
yeah.
But for me, the glaring error was the rush in. Mm-hmm. If you really looked at it, it was Nyes bringing the puck through the neutral zone, and the closest man with him is Mitch Marner on the far side. Mm-hmm. So they've established as the F1 and F2 on the play, which Nyes puts it in deep, ends up behind the net. Mitch goes to support him, and Austin, who should have known inside the red line that he is the third man high, decides to go chase another goal. And all three of them end up below the goal line. Mm-hmm. And now Mitch, as an F2, looks at his centerman and goes, he's not the responsible one, and I got to go cover his ass. And he does actually make it back until Morgan Riley decides to, I don't know, let Gensel get behind him. Mm-hmm. And then all bets are off after that. But it's like, hey, Austin, where are you going? Where are you going? How does the number one line against Crosby end up 3 below their goal line? That's just inexcusable. Play the right way.
Yeah. I don't know the rush exactly or how that played out, but it is indicative of, it was funny. One of the quotes that Austin had about their line struggling was that sometimes it's effort related. It's not skill related. And I don't know if he's talking about his teammates on his line or himself or what, but it's a pretty strange thing to say about your own group. So I don't know. I think it's good for them both.
See, for me, it's between the ears.
Yeah.
A lot of what I see is between the ears, which, includes Robertson deciding to go back to Brody on the Achari goal.
Yeah,
right?
and again, Brody, not great on that play either. He doesn't make a great choice once he's put in a tough spot.
He didn't want that puck at all.
No,
right?
He looks like he doesn't want the puck, period. So, a lot of it is you zoom out with this team right now. And, I was having a Twitter exchange with Luke Asdick this morning about how it's kind of tough to know what teams are good right now because it feels like flat cap for so many years has limited how much better you can get. But the draft, the way it is, kind of helps the bottom teams. So it feels like there's 25 teams in this pack with a couple outliers above and below. And the Leafs are kind of in that pack right now. There's a lot to sort out. And so you can understand why Brad Treliving has a press conference today to explain what's going on. Where are we? Can you fix some of these problems? Because they have problems here this year for the first time in a while.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned him, general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, met the media and had this on his overview of the season so far. Clip 1.
Well, there's two things. There's standings, which is number one, and then how you're playing. And I think from a manager's perspective, you're always looking at how you're playing. To me, we've been hit and miss. There's been some inconsistency in our game, right? Which is a little concerning. At the area that is an area that we'd like to clean up and improve upon. Is you want to try to put that same game on the ice, period after period, game after game. And I think, the one encouraging sign is I think we've when you look at a lot of the data that we look at, our defensive play and what we're giving up has gotten better. It needs to continue to get better. But I think overall there's still gaps in our consistency of how we played. And that would be through the first quarter of the season, that would probably be my overwhelming theme is we just got to become more consistent as a group.
That doesn't happen.
Mike.
Sorry.
Where did you go, Mike?
That doesn't happen. Teams like this just don't suddenly, when you have mediocre talent below your elite guys, it doesn't suddenly figure it out every game, or that's elite talent. Like, that's not going to be the solution here. Is that
the reason they're inconsistent is because they're not
good
that
enough to
great.
be good all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. So if the plan is to let Robertson, Domi, and Yarncroc play well consistently, I got bad news for how it's going to go.
All right, let's go to another clip on improving the team. Can he do it?
I think that's your job all the time, is you're trying to help your team now. The idea that you're always just going to trade yourself out of issues isn't realistic. Coming in here, obviously we did some things over the course of the summer. Some have gone well, some are a work in progress, some haven't gone as well. So you take a look at where you're at, and you're always trying to find ways to help the team. I got to learn. Part of this is learning the group we have. But certainly, you're always looking at ways to make yourself better, and at what cost, and all those types of things. So that's an everyday part of the job.
So we talked about the, there are some things that have worked out, some things that are a work in progress, and some things that haven't worked out.
Okay, so let's
Let's
get into it.
Okay.
All right. Let's go with what's worked well, because we know where it hasn't worked out well and where it's headed.
Right. So what's worked well, I will say that I think Tyler Bertuzzi looks like a player that could be worth $5.5 million if he plays like this the rest of the way.
I've loved him in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. He runs into some people. He gets some points. He's around the crease. He's excited and engaged emotionally. Yeah. What have you thought?
Yeah.
You don't seem as excited.
No. Outside of Willie, the last 6 or 7 games, definitely the most noticeable guy around the net for sure.
Yeah.
Takes the man.
Yeah.
Makes plays, goes hard to the net. It's
guy.
He's engaged.
Yeah. I mean, outside of that, the Matthews extension I like. Beyond, like
Domi, for the most part, is a serviceable guy that could play up or down your lineup. I know the goals haven't been there, but to me, Max, I never saw as a guy locked into a role. I just saw him as a guy that can move in and out of your lineup and make plays. And for the most part, I think he's done his job.
I think he has found his stride, and he is making plays, and he is, he can do some things on the offensive side of the puck that they haven't had for depth. And he, multiple times this year, he's broken open a game with a play. So really nice for them to have that. I mean,
I would like a goal at some point.
He's a small guy, and he's not physical. Yeah. He will like engage, but he is a small guy who's not physical, and he is not defensively attuned.
Well, he's got another one that's challenged, I think, Nick Robertson.
100%. Yes,
and
I agree.
He does not have 600 games under his belt like Max or the experience.
No. And so I think my point with Domi is like, if you could play him with a couple of guys who are those things, who maybe, hate to say it, like a Sam Lafferty hypothetically, but whether it's a Gregor, I really like Gregor, and I think he could work with Domi. They both have great speed, and I don't know, someone else who can play defensively. I think Domi can be a part of a workable third line. But I don't like him when there's other people like him on his line.
Okay. That leaves us Ryan Reeves and John Klingberg.
And Gregor, though. Gregor's
been a bright spot.
No, Gregor's
good depth guy.
I don't know. He had another breakaway. The guy's had like 10 breakaways. Can't hit the side of a barn, but
he'll get involved in a scrum.
Can't score and put the puck in the ocean, but
it's like Michael Grabner. It's like if he gets 6,000 breakaways, maybe he'll figure it out one year and score 30.
But
you never know.
But if Gregor could score, he'd be making $6 million.
Right. So he got it for nothing.
He'd be rich.
Yeah.
Before we get into Klingberg, as far as Ryan Reeves goes, this is what I envisioned with him. In and out of the lineup at times. Can send a message, at times sits. It's like, I'm not sure he should be as big as a disappointment as he seems to be to others.
You know what, Kip? If he was on a 1-year deal, I think people would be very happy at 1.3. Is that what it is? 1.3, 1.3.
1.3.
1.3, people would be like, all right, he's in another lineup, comes in when we need him. Great.
Yeah, great.
But when you sign a guy for 3 years, you kind of think you're going to get a guy you want to use all the time. That's all.
Sheldon gave us the impression that he was going to be an everyday fourth liner. Was that a mistake?
He really did that in training camp.
Yes.
And coming out of training camp and into the first few games of the season, he wouldn't stop raving about him, wouldn't stop talking.
He did look very good.
He really built him up big time throughout the first few weeks.
There were issues in
score,
New
by the way. I'm
York.
rooting for him.
There were issues on other teams that he didn't play all the time, that he needed to be a healthy scratcher. Speed was an issue. Keeping up with was an issue.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
to me, he's okay. I get it. Maybe fans want him to be more engaged when he's on. Just be more of a threat. You know, don't have to fight. We know the league today. You don't have to fight all the time.
To see you annoying
but
people
just
all the time.
A threat.
Yapping.
But outside of that, I don't think people should be overly, disappointed.
The Chicago game, I know he scores, so it's easy to say that. But outside of the goal, let's just forget that. What the Chicago game looked like for Ryan Reeves is what I pictured.
Yeah.
Where he plays like around 10 minutes, runs into a few guys, gets in a
Couple scrums.
like a kind of a line thing where he's out there and got Seth Jones wrapped up and he's leaning on guys, he's running into people.
Yeah,
That's what I envision.
You want people playing the Leafs because of Reeves to go, oh,
yeah, exactly.
This sucks.
Not
He's going to be all over me again.
Not like cookie night. Being like, oh, wait, I can't wait to blow by him.
Yeah.
So you didn't like the term on the Ryan Reeves. Love the turn on John Klingberg,
And
but
that's about
maybe
it.
not the $4.1 million that came with it. Let's go to Brad Treliving, clip 3 on his prize signing on the blue line.
Yeah, it's true.
First of all, we didn't anticipate, this wasn't something that we knew the player was injured and we went and signed him anyhow. We knew the history of the player, but we didn't anticipate that there was going to be an issue. He got injured, sort of the event, if you would be. I think it was in the Florida game, or it was on that first road trip. I think it was the first road trip, right? We went to Florida, Tampa. And so it hasn't improved. So what John's doing now is we're gonna have, I hate to say it because in case you don't have it, but I anticipate we're gonna have clarity this week.
Did you guys catch it?
Let's hear. We'll catch what?
The very start, of course.
The reason why he talked to the media.
To clarify, I did not sign a hurt player.
100%.
Yeah.
This wasn't
I'm
about
not the fool here.
This wasn't about the
quarter pole.
The quarter pole. This
Yeah.
wasn't about can you fix it with a trade?
This is you dummies are saying you signed a hurt guy.
This is me coming out and telling you guys I'm not the idiot everybody thinks I am signing this guy.
Yeah,
we didn't
so
know.
right.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Yes. He was healthy when we signed him.
Yes.
He had normal hips.
We were aware of
After
his history,
yeah.
but his history wasn't happening right now. We were
We didn't
aware of it, though.
anticipate that there was going to be an issue.
Right?
He got
And
yeah,
this
that's
is
exactly right.
We're not making crap up. We're not circumventing anything. That guy came in. We thought he was 100% fine. There were no issues. So don't accuse us of anything.
And he's hurt his hips. He's had hip injections. It ain't working. He's probably not going to play. We're going to clarify that next week.
We know where this is heading.
Yeah.
Okay.
With $4.1 million in cap space for the Leafs.
Yeah.
Which,
we know
by
where
the
it's heading.
way, is a little bit like a kid getting their allowance, or something, or payday where you're like,
Oh, buddy.
how do I get to spend
no,
But I
this?
hope, I hope Treliving doesn't go to the
This
Quickie
is
Mart
me
and
on
spend it
the
all.
first tee, cranking it 320 into the woods, begging for a mulligan. Please, Sammy. Please,
Yeah.
JB. Breakfast ball, please.
There it is.
You had to
Brad
have it, of
Treliving
course.
sat today and said, we didn't know, but I got a breakfast ball.
Yeah. Re-tee.
Yeah,
He
Re-tee,
gets
try
to-
again.
He ain't hitting 3 off the tee.
but you better not, pull hook it into the other side of the woods.
Yeah, you're going to go play the next one.
Or else you're hitting 5 off the tee.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so that it will be interesting to know how they choose to utilize
Very
that.
easy. I can answer that question for you. A man who plays defense.
Yeah. A defensive man would be ideal.
They need one of them.
They do.
Quite badly.
So that's that part remains to be seen. But it is worth noting too. He did say this isn't something you can trade your way out of, which also kind of gets my back up a little bit, just because you're allowed to make trades.
I know he is, but the truth is, JB, it's just so hard. It's just really. Really?
Yeah, it is hard.
That's
why you're making.
That's why you make things.
Yeah, you're making millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and you have a
you
team
have
that
one of 32 premier jobs in the league.
All right, that's all I had was it was really hard. I can't back it up
Well, listen.
after what you guys just asked.
You are the first-year manager of a very prestigious franchise with sky-high expectations, and you're sneaky floundering here.
Yeah,
They've got 5 regulation wins in 19 games.
5 regulation wins through 19 games. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's not very many.
And, it's like, it's hard. I get that it's hard. Pick up the phone again.
Yeah.
Like, they need some help defensively.
But it doesn't feel like they need the defibrillator. Like, they don't need to trade Mitch Marner for UC Saros or, whatever insane thing is out there on hockey HF boards.
Yet.
Oh. You think soon?
See what happens after Florida.
You don't think they would trade one of those guys mid-season?
Listen, you
Well,
just
it's
said it.
Willie or Mitch.
You
Those
want
are
to
the
make
two.
you want to make millions being the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs? You look at everything.
I also don't think you can see how people talk about the guy who just got fired and come in and do the same things, which is just go, the core will figure it out. The core hasn't figured it out.
Before you even have a conversation on trading anybody, let's figure out what he's going to do with Willie Nylander. He also spoke to the media. Clip number 4, Derek Brandale.
Well, I'm not going to delve into, I think you guys will get to know me. I try to give you as much as I possibly can, but I'm not going to get into those discussions other than say nothing's changed on our end. We continue to, our desire and our hope at the end of the day is we're going to get Willie signed. And there's a process that you go through. Willie's had a tremendous start to the year, but, I think I don't think this is just a hot start. I think he's a really good player. And I stated from day one here, our objective was to get Austin signed. We got him signed. Our objective is to get Willie signed, and we're working at it. So, he had a great start, great for him, great for us. But that doesn't change in any way. We just continue to work away at it.
I think he just said we can and we will about Willie.
I think he mentioned hot start like 4 times.
Yeah. I'm looking at Willie's career numbers. So he's at 19 games this year, 27 points. His career games played is 540 and points are 450, basically. He hasn't been a point per game guy. So I think it would be nerve-wracking to be negotiating with a guy at his absolute career peak right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Trees, like if I drag this out, is he going to come back to earth a little bit and maybe see our side a little bit more?
Even if he comes down, the price ain't coming down with him.
You don't think?
No. I've been around this game long enough to watch these type of guys negotiate, and the price of poker never comes down.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
He is going to get his money.
Well, he said in that clip, he's like, well, we haven't changed. Well, I hope you change. Hope you went a little north.
Yeah,
Just-
fair enough.
Even if it comes back down to earth a little bit, he is a dynamic talent that people pay to go see.
Popular in this market. They know how much people
Are you
love
worried
him.
about selling tickets here, Kip?
Yeah, I am.
I'm
I am.
sorry.
I am, yeah.
You think they what?
I am worried about people still shelling out big bucks and getting more Gregors than Nylanders.
I do wonder if that's not a
Okay.
major fear of
And
why you haven't seen a Nylander or Marner trade is because they go,
Listen,
do you guys know what people pay to see?
I grew up in this town. Okay, I've watched it evolve. The price, the demand for tickets has always been there, but eventually, it's gonna hit a break point. I honestly believe that because, first of all, the generations always were able to pass tickets on to their children and grandchildren. That's going to stop the fact that you need 80 grand
Yeah.
if you want to pick them up. Now, that didn't happen before. I think there's always a concern in this town that we can tap in big money, but they got to feel like they're getting something worth paying for still. That should always be a concern from MLSE.
Couldn't it go the other way too, though, with this core, Kip? Because I do sense a lot of apathy towards this team in terms of people being frustrated with the same team doing the same things for 7 straight years here. Like we're having this, we could be doing a show from...
Yeah, this is 2019 or 2021 or whatever.
I think there's part of this where they go out and they trade one of these guys for a top-end D-man and another guy to fill out the bottom half of their roster where people are like, oh, okay, it's a different direction. This is something new. Like, a trade of one of these guys could renew some of the people in this fan base.
I can't disagree with that, Sammy.
Like,
Absolutely.
It could 100% go that way, too.
Until it doesn't work
Until
and they start
stink.
losing.
Yeah. Until the butcher D-man you traded Mitch Marner for can't make a breakout pass.
100%.
What is going against them if they re-sign Willie at $11 million is we've got ample proof that it doesn't work already.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you...
What if the same thing was more expensive?
Right? Yes. It's just got more expensive.
I know this doesn't work.
It's like my grocery bill.
And to your point, there's a lot of people that are saying, don't do it. You've already proven that you can't win with 4 $10 million players up front. Why do you want to pay more for it? So to your point, I think there is maybe a break point where one of them may have to go.
Yeah.
Wonder.
But I just don't think you can do that middle of a season.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's see where this team is in the middle of the season.
Well,
before you say that.
Just checking in here to report that the Detroit Red Wings got hot.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah, I believe they won. Did they win again yesterday? Yes, they did.
They beat Boston.
So the Red Wings have now caught and passed the Leafs in the standings, and that's not like some, more games, less games. They played one more game. They got 2 more points than the Leafs. So they are in the 3rd spot in the Atlantic. The Leafs are in the last wild card spot. And,
not going to say those standings are pretty.
That's about where they fit. So the East is very good. There's a lot of very good teams. You got to win at a pretty good clip in this division. And
my guess is that this could hit 100 points
to make
the playoffs.
In the East. Well,
in the East.
Because it may be 90 to make it in the West.
Maybe less.
Yeah, you think it could be that low, eh? Boys.
Offhand, I'm looking at the West. I don't know if we can put it up on a board or not, but okay,
Here come the Oilers.
We buried the Oilers at American Thanksgiving, but based on what I saw out of the Ducks,
look at these.
The
teams.
Wild, how many games have the Wild lost?
That is a dog's
7 of the last 9 is the answer.
Yeah, Oilers got to keep rolling here and
Yeah,
stringing
do,
some
but
major.
You're 6 points behind a team that's played 2 more games than them. They're not that far gone.
Sammy,
Anyway.
we're going to take a break here.
Yeah, we should probably take a break.
We'll take a break, and we still got plenty more to get into, including Saturday night. Should we have not hyped up the Dubas versus the Leafs a little bit more?
I'm so glad you brought this up.
I want to get into that.
Why would we have hyped that up?
Quiet. We're going to break.
All right.
We're going to get into it after the break. You are watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. Plenty more on the Real Kyper and Bourne show, including our national hour. We'll welcome in Brian Lawton, former NHL player, agent, analyst, talk Oilers, talk Corey Perry. Mm-hmm. Maybe get back into the Western Conference. Maybe they're not so dead in the water as we thought. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
good weekend.
We left to commercial break talking about Pittsburgh Penguins and Kyle Dubas. And I don't know, is it just us that didn't really make that big of a deal of Kyle versus the Leafs again?
No, we had that reaction show. The Blackhawks had just played. We were doing a post game. We only had an hour.
So, yeah, we were like, okay, but we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the week.
Nobody could have foreseen the Saturday night game.
But I think Hockey Night, our crew here at Sportsnet did maybe 5 or 6 minutes at the beginning of it, but it just kind of fell by the wayside, I think.
You know why?
Did you not get that? Like you do your Leaf talk.
Yeah.
Were people out there talking about it?
Well, it's funny. The first thing that Bunkus brought up to me on Leafs Talk, he sent the tweet about Dubas and about the Dubas Bowl. And my honest opinion was I hadn't really thought about it that much. Like I really, they're both just kind of mid, both these teams. And that's what it is. That it comes down to. It's like not one's really good, not one's really bad. They're just both kind of right down the middle.
Give them along.
The Leaf fans have kind of moved off of it. It just seems
some have.
It seems so far removed now. It's like, well, we got our own issues here. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Or we don't need to be concerned with that because we got our own things that we got to fix on the team.
I don't know. There's an awful lot of people today doing work that's like, what would it look like if Dubas was still here? Or around that game, there was a lot of, what would it look like had he not been fired?
Oh, who cares? Like, why does it matter?
Because you're a sports fan, and what you do is you live in hypotheticals.
I will say this. I wished on Saturday night would have seen a few more reactions. You know, when Carlson scored, it would have been great if they could have panned to No, Spezza and Dubas doing hip chest bumps, and you know that would have been kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think Leaf fans would love that game. I'm sure they would have played well in Canada.
My honest opinion is like there's so much of it goes around Sid to me and the Penguins, and they're just being like this, you know, not rivalry, but like Sid's played against the Leafs so much, and you know, not have that many matchups left. The Saturday night, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get bent out of shape about Dubas. If it's a playoff series, totally different animal.
Yeah.
Where it's like you dial it up. I think it'll probably feel different in Toronto too. I think they're coming here in December, maybe December 16th. I want to say they're coming to Toronto. I think it'll feel different then. But like, I don't know. I just.
Can we talk about 87 for a second? Because I think he ended up with what, 1 assist?
Yeah. 66 points in 50 games against the Leafs in his career.
Why is it every game looks the same with him? Where it's just, he's just so solid.
Yeah.
He never he never looks like he's having a really tough night.
It doesn't feel like Sid has to beat anyone one-on-one. You know what I mean? Like he takes what the game gives him a lot of time. Like the assist he got is on the rush. He makes a play to the trailer, who I believe made the play to the back door. That was his assist. Later in the game, he has a similar rush where he kind of looks for a similar thing instead of forcing a play to the net. I always think that John Tavares looks his best when he's beating guys one-on-one, when he's taking them on one-on-one. But that's bad. You don't want to
really bad.
Yeah, you don't want to have to beat guys one-on-one. Sid just kind of takes what's there for him and executes at a really high rate.
He could have had 4 assists.
He set a lot of guys up.
They put that one on, was it Gensel, who wedged it into the crowd somehow from like in the blue paint? Like he was firing it around.
Listen, we can debate greatest or not greatest. To me, he's the most complete player I think I've ever seen. Complete.
Yeah, and competitive to go with that, right?
And no shortcuts. Never a shortcut. I wish Austin would have come out of Saturday night going, why can't I be more like Sid?
You know, I do think that happens over careers, and Sid is different because he's Sidney Crosby and he's been like this. But like, I don't know that Patrice Bergeron was looked at as the best defensive center in the league the first 6 years he played, 7-8 years. You know, I think that element of the game comes later. Would you not agree that that's not guys develop that skill?
Yeah, like
Sid's the exception because he's done it.
Sid doesn't chase his points. He doesn't value points like I think
he values
Austin does,
cups.
Tavares does, Mitch, and probably Willie in a contract year. They value their cookies.
Yes.
And Sid's not like that.
Probably would have been like that earlier in his career, though, I would imagine.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think probably in the last like 7 or 8
but
years.
So then this is a good point that are these guys not at their point in their career where they're ready to say, okay, I don't care about my cookies anymore. I just need to win and people will respect that.
So
my new priorities are this.
I read that in, I don't know who did the ESPN. You know, when on Friday we mentioned that Ovi said we saved the league?
Yes.
Okay, did you read the article?
I did, yeah.
Do you remember the Barry Trotz quotes?
Yep.
What did he say?
Where he basically said that Alex changed where his priorities.
It's not about the goals.
Yeah.
We don't care. You know, it's not about the goals. It's about everything around it.
Wow.
And he said, I think Alex is ready to win now.
He's got a funny way of showing his priorities change. He scores 60 a year for like 50 years.
Yeah.
No, but
Trotz's point was that he stopped poaching in favor, you know, kind of made the right decision.
The goals
more often.
won't matter if you can't help us win in other areas of the ice. That's the point Trotz was trying to make.
Yep. And
I don't think Austin gets it just yet.
And I don't think you
And he
learn
needs
that
to get
till
it
you do
first
it.
because he's the highest paid guy in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be. You know, you and I are on different sides of Matthews in that I think he's a good defensive player. I
wouldn't say as much this year. I think it's slipped
Listen,
a little bit.
Well,
this year.
that line has been on for 14 goals for and 13 against.
My issues aren't him defensively.
Yeah.
My issues are he's not a playmaker. He doesn't make plays.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to shoot the puck. He wants to put it in the net.
I know you want Brett Hull to set up
I don't want
Oates.
I don't want the highest paid player in the league, the highest paid number one centerman in the league to end up with 30 assists on the season. It's not enough.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine, but that's a totally separate point
Yeah.
from the defensive side of the game and that commitment.
But it's all of it. It's just a complete player. Sid's a complete player. Like Sid's got 25, 27 points.
Sounds right.
I think 23 or 24 are even strength.
Yes, I think Sid is actually leading the NHL in even strength
Okay.
points, which I will
And
check right now.
Gensel's not too
21.
far off.
Yeah, Gensel's one behind. Yeah.
He actually
And-
has 2 more goals than assists this
And
year.
where's Austin and Mitch right now on even strength? Is
Not high.
Mitch
Yeah.
is still leading 5-on-5
Leafs.
points. The Leafs.
Yeah.
But it's nowhere near the top centerman in the game right now,
Um,
or the top
I know what you mean.
players.
Yeah, I see Nylander's their top guy. I'm trying to find Mitch, but I could be wrong that he's ahead of him. Anyway.
I think Sid deserves more all-time great conversation because it's like the like the stupid Mount Rushmore thing or the top 5 thing, and it's it's hard to kick Gordie Howe off the top 5 of all-time hockey, but like to me, Sid is definitely in that conversation. Like,
Me too.
Like,
To
there's
me,
no
it's
question.
how much longer is he going to play at this level
did you see
for?
that tweet I sent you guys? Because we were talking about this on Leafs Talk on Saturday, and I was saying about how he missed so many games due to he missed COVID, he got injured, the lockout. He missed 286 games over his career.
Yeah.
And at his career points per game, that's around an extra 350 points.
2,000 points.
Yeah, he'd be in the conversation. He would be at, the total of the guy here, Leafs Truth, who tweeted this at me, had 1,880 points.
Yeah.
I mean, even take 50 off that or 60 off that, he's still in the spot. He's an all-time great player.
We saw Carlson score a goal Saturday night. Where are you on Kyle Dubas's sink or swim with this guy?
That guy can't defend a
Yeah,
lick.
it was a great goal. He also got beat like a rented mule
It
against
is-
Nyes
the
going
first
to
two
the net.
goals
Yeah.
were his fault.
It's hard to believe that you could be in the league that long and have that much success putting the puck in the net, and you haven't got a clue how to defend in front of your net.
This is exactly what we're talking about, where you think eventually you'd go, forget the points. I just need to help my team win and defend and all that sort of stuff. But no, it has not come for him. By the way, I've been looking at the stats and half distracted. In terms of even strength points, it's Nylander, Matthews, Tavares, and then Marner on the Leafs. I guess he must have, he's at 5-on-5 points. He was really grinding for a way to give him, maybe there's some 4-on-4, the 3-on-3 points in there. I don't know. But anyway.
Even
Yes.
strength. So, Nylander has a bunch of in the overtime
points, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's looking to give Mitch. He wanted to
Wow.
give him his due.
That's interesting.
Little credit to Wall. I mean, Jari was pretty good Saturday night. He made some big saves that
Don't you feel better with Wall in there than Samsonov? Watch these games.
Wall's just fundamentally a better goalie.
Yeah.
Quiet compared to pucks go through him a little bit recently, but he's not flying around at least.
Yeah. That Achari one was well placed and all,
Yeah.
but
Yep. You got to save there.
probably.
Achari, Lafferty.
Achari was prime
Lafferty
Gordie Howe.
out in
Blocking
Vancouver.
shots, scoring goals.
Could the Leafs use Lafferty right about now?
I don't
Got
want to talk about
5
it.
goals and 10 assists for Vancouver. Speed kills penalties.
That's great. We've solved nothing.
It's already an hour? I guess
Already an hour, buddy.
Oh,
Okay, we got the next hour with Brian Lawton. We'll talk Corey Perry. We'll talk Edmonton Oilers and maybe even a little Vancouver. All right, don't go away. Stick with us. Real Kyper and Bourne. It's the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, National Edition. We are live on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee for the next hour. Plenty to get into.
Oh, yes.
Edmonton Oilers making it look easy last night against the Anaheim Ducks.
God, they're good.
We did mention Corey Perry's name in the first hour.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, anybody out there, my buddies especially, I don't know anything. Okay, quit texting me. I don't know.
And so my buddies who are listening, if I ever know anything, it's because Kip knows something. He knows nothing, so I don't.
And to all of my group chats that are exclusively talking about this, I know nothing as well.
But thank you for the memes and the rumors.
Okay, outside of aliens being involved, there is so much crap out there. And I got to be honest with you, I've been in the game, in the pro game for 12 years. I've covered it for close to 25. This one is really bizarre. Okay?
It's
really bizarre for no other reason is because a player of this stature suddenly like almost falling off, like gone, right? Which is okay. I mean, sometimes it's personal reasons and sometimes they just announce someone needs, but this one kind of, they backdoored the personal issue thing and they just came out and said,
nothing.
No, they said organizational decision, which means right off the bat that there's something going on between player and organization that they're not seeing eye to eye on something. And therefore, we've asked the player to leave opposed to us agreeing that he needs time off. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
It set a bad tone right off the bat.
Well, the strangest thing was that, like, I had the thought, like, he's got a kid, right? And I was like, could his kid be really have some serious diagnosis? No, they would tell us that it's like a family, like just trying to put the pieces together of what wouldn't they feel comfortable talking about.
The feeling I got, and a lot of people have, is that, when they started saying like it's an organizational decision, like there was no sense that like he was going to be welcomed back, which to me,
indefinite, suspension,
indefinite,
not suspension, but just
he wouldn't be back for the foreseeable future. I think how Kyle
indefinite leave, maybe
foreseeable future. We don't see him coming back in the foreseeable future was, I think, the quote Saturday from Kyle Davidson. And, I'm thinking as an organization that's just been through something, one of the, biggest scandals that the NHL has ever seen, you might want to try to get ahead of something instead of having...
Transparency would be good.
Listen, I get it, that it's very sensitive, and it wouldn't be the first time in professional sports something very sensitive was out there, but it's hard to not say a word either because all the vultures out there on social media are going to, it makes them dig deeper and it makes them hungrier to find out what's going on. And that's not a good thing in today's world.
And it's just fanning the flames, like the rumors, everything is just like, I have heard every different range of theory from people. And it's like, people not knowing is not helping them get out ahead of whatever story now has to be told. They could have told some sort of story.
I don't know whether or not, like,
he won a Hart Trophy and Stanley Cups.
The Chicago Blackhawks are a top Original Six organization. I don't know if, based on past recent history, I don't know if they're equipped to get ahead of the PR department.
Should they not have the most equipped PR department at this point?
They should. They should.
Yeah, they should probably have figured out how to handle this.
But
after what happened.
To your point, fanning the flames is going on right now. And it's not good for anybody.
No, and it's, who knows what really happened, but some of it's kind of distasteful. And so, like, if it's not true,
but we don't even know
not fair to a lot of people involved.
You're never going to control that social media side of it, of the trollers and all the people that want to assume the worst and without any factual information. But Corey Perry, for the most part, you've never really heard anything, bad about him, or and that's not to say that something hasn't happened that might be of great concern to a lot of people around him, but we're talking about a guy that should go in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if you got in trouble, you got a DUI or something, you think they would come out and deal with it or talk about it or whatever, there's so many things that you could see the path forward for them as a PR angle. And so I think that's what's making this have so much combustion, is that you can see how they would handle things unless it was something really uncommon and strange.
We're going to welcome in Brian Lawton in a couple of minutes. President, general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning once upon a time. So I think he'd have some insight on what, like, how something internally would be.
Yeah.
What would be going on right now in terms of Chicago, and even there's a players association too. So it's my understanding that he has not been suspended. He's still getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an issue like they want to terminate his contract as of yet. But how long do season ticket holders in Chicago have to scratch their heads?
I don't know. And what's worse about it all is how much extra they paid to get him there. They probably paid $2.5 million above his value, maybe $2 million above his value anyway, to say, come help along our young talent and show him how to be a pro and all that. It just seems like money that did not get well spent at this point.
Okay, as promised, let's welcome in Brian Lawton, president, general manager, agent. The man has done it all. Lots, what's going on, man? Where do we find you right now?
I am back in very cold Minnesota today, enjoying it. I had a little travel over Thanksgiving, but I'm happy to be back. I was in Montana for a little while, and I was in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico.
Lots. I'm not. Yeah, tough life. I'm not sure how much of our conversation you caught before you joined on, but we're talking about Corey Perry and just the lack of information. And I get it, especially with Chicago, how sensitive they are with the media and players and information. But based on the fact that they're coming off a $2 million fine for not responding, I guess, in time to the Kyle Beach situation. Does it appear like they're making the right moves by not sharing anything at all, or are they gone too far one side?
I don't normally spend a ton of time on these types of stories, particularly if I find out that it's something very personal. I don't know exactly what the situation is, but I was led to believe that this is something very personal. It's not a ruse. It's not necessarily anything that anyone would be proud to find out about. It has to do with some personal strife, if I am correct. And if that's the case, and I don't know that it is, and I really wouldn't have any more to say about it because it truly is a private matter. If that's not the case, if it's not what I think it is or what I was told, then yes, I can understand where you guys would be coming from. There's not really many secrets left in the world. I feel like these things will come out eventually. I may have been misled this morning, but I did not like the things I heard, and I hope none of them are true. And I hope in this case, you guys are right, that it's odd that we don't know more specifics about what's going on.
Yeah. Kip, did you have any more you wanted to ask on that, or
No,
can I turn
good.
the page?
We're good. Listen, I totally respect his privacy, and I get all of that. I just know in today's world that it just doesn't end there, unfortunately.
Yeah,
sometimes.
the Hawks probably could have snuffed out a lot of the rumors by just being a little more forthright or something. I did want to ask you about a team that has been fascinating for us here in the National Hour. The Edmonton Oilers is a team that I'm not sure if you noticed started kind of bad, but they had a really good weekend What are your thoughts on trying to have patience with a team that you know has had success in the past, but it's just not happening when you're in management? How do you sort of have the patience to ride these things out and let them correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and you have to give Ken Holland a lot of credit for hanging in there. I do think that we've found out some new information about the Oilers. I mean, let's not forget they weren't that far away from making the finals last year. Expectations were through the roof. 2-star players, 2 of the most popular players in the league. There's a lot of attention on this team, and it was kind of just a dud to start the season for them. Quite frankly, it shocked a lot of people. When I say I think we've learned some things about their team, as we found out the last few games, their team is not as horrific as it started the season. As a matter of fact, they're much better than that. I'll go ahead and shock everybody by saying the Edmonton Oilers will definitely make the playoffs. I don't know how closely people are following. I know you guys are in terms of the West. And right now the West is projecting, potentially low 80s.
Yeah.
To be the last team.
Yeah.
So there's some anomalies going on for sure. At the end of the day, I still believe Edmonton will be in the playoffs. I believed in the summer that they would certainly be one of the top 3 in their division. I'm not sure that's the case. You have to tip your cap to Vancouver and LA for coming out and playing as well as they have. That may change the dynamic, but I still think they'll make the playoffs. I really do. I think we've learned that when Connor and Leon both are hitting on all cylinders, that those 2 guys are good enough to literally elevate this team into being a playoff team at any time.
Lots, will that be enough? Will that be enough for Oiler fans that what deemed an American Thanksgiving nightmare, not being in the playoffs, does that turn into, yes, we made the playoffs success, or no, like Ken, turn this into a Stanley Cup final team?
I don't think it'll be enough for Edmonton fans if they just make the playoffs. And yet you have to take a little bit of baby steps from where they are right now. But I do feel like their game is coming around. I do feel like the new information that Ken and his staff would have learned is that we do still have some issues with our roster. And we are going to have to make some pretty significant changes if we want to, in fact, be a Stanley Cup contending team. No doubt they'll be in the playoffs for me. I know that may sound crazy. That's what I think. That's what I thought in the summer. I do a lot of modeling. I couldn't create a model that didn't have Edmonton, quite frankly, in the top 5 teams in the NHL. Now, this is just on paper before the season started, but that is the reality of it. That hasn't worked out. What does it mean that their team maybe isn't as good as we thought? It means that they need to make some adjustments. They need to figure out their goaltending still. It's playing better, so it's easy to forget about, and yet it's still there. That has to be improved. And their decor is still below where it needs to be a championship team. And then lastly, the depth on their team outside of their superstars. They are top heavy. I've heard Craig Button say this a number of times. No top heavy teams ever win the cup. I think you have to evaluate every team on its own merits. They are a top-heavy team. That is true. I'm not sure with some adjustments that they were not good enough to go on and win a cup. It's not looking great this year, but there's still a lot of season left. So I'm pretty bullish on the Edmonton Oilers is what I'm trying to say.
I'm happy to hear it. I've been fighting against these 2 in here. I'm digging in on the Oil. One of the things that we heard, and Kip and I were talking about this in the first hour, was about the Leafs and just Tree Living saying that it's hard or you can't trade your way out of it right now. And, you have experience with this business. And why can't teams right now be more active and fix their problems? It just feels frustrating for fans who there's obvious shortcomings, but their GMs are saying there's nothing they can do about it.
Well, Brad's not wrong. It's definitely difficult to make trades at this time. It's just human nature. If you look at the Oilers as an example, so we don't pick on Brad, they obviously went through a really rough stretch here and would desperately like to have done something. But when the phone gets picked up this early in the year, people know why you're calling, particularly for the oil can. They were looking for a goaltender in the worst way. And just by chance, the price for a goaltender at that time was sky high. Can you imagine that?
Right.
In the National Hockey League, a guy that you could have had for free in the summer was now potentially worth a first-round pick. And that's tough to swallow
Right.
on the acquiring team. And it's just human nature. So Brad is right on that. But we have seen guys that have bucked the trend in the past that have been able to make deals. You got to be more open than ever. You got to come with solutions for a club. You've got to understand that, this early in the year with Edmonton, we'll use them again as an example. There really weren't that many suitors they could go to. Just turn the standings upside down and start reading away. Start with San Jose. Do you want anybody there? You're going to find your own club where Edmonton was for a while, pretty high on the list that you don't want to be on. So then maybe you get to Chicago and you see all the guys they have that you may have interest in. They've got an elite defenseman in Seth Jones. They've got excess goaltending to some degree, but more than anything, they're a team that's ahead of where people thought. And transitionally, you might find a match if you were a team like Edmonton and a team like Chicago, a team that really feels like they must win now and take advantage of their star players, lock their star players down long term. What happens, in these next 2 years is going to dictate whether or not certainly Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid stay with that organization. So they're not just playing like everybody else for a Stanley Cup championship. They're playing to solidify their future, whereas Chicago is on a different track, feeling better about themselves, probably as an organization today, as Edmonton did a week ago. But they know that they've got some runway. They've got time. They've got some general managers and senior staff on long-term contracts. They know if they do this right, continue to acquire picks and younger players, they're going to have a great career. And the Chicago Blackhawks will be trying to duplicate what they just went through in an incredible run. So you've got to really understand not only where you're at, but where everybody else is at. Not a lot of suitors to make a deal. I thought Nashville might fall into that pile, and all they've done is gone out and rip off a bunch of wins in a row to change that. So Brad is correct. It's tough. It's definitely mission difficult, but it's not mission impossible to get a deal done this early.
We're talking to Brian Lawton, former NHL player, agent, general manager. 20 games into the season, man, we've either seen some interesting benching or healthy scratches, and the names are Timo Meier, Kucherov in Tampa Bay, Jonathan Huberdeau in Calgary, Kuzmenko, Rick Tocchet in Vancouver. Did I mention Timo Meier? Okay, so how does that compare to maybe when you were a manager in Tampa Bay dealing with a guy like Vinny LeCavalier? Is it the same? Is it that much harder today than it was back then?
I think it's the same, and it's certainly difficult. You left out Patrick Laine, I guess, would be the other name that came to mind.
That's right.
As you were reading a very eloquent list of guys.
It's a shocking list.
Guessed. It is. It is a shocking list, Kyper. And in today's world, you've got a different athlete. Guys like you and I, we were afraid. You were never afraid of anything except for a team burying you and banishing you from the NHL forever. So I don't mean to imply that you were afraid of any player, because I know you.
I know what you're saying.
I know you weren't, but you know exactly what I mean. In today's world, the guys have more security, and I don't think it resonates as much. It's still challenging. Patrick Laine, in particular, spoke openly about how embarrassing it is. You're a leader on a team. Johnny Gaudreau, he hasn't really started much better than Patrick either, but it's just different. There's more security. I feel like back then the coach had the power to get rid of you, whereas now I feel like the team has the power to get rid of the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the reality of it. So it definitely is different. It's definitely shocking. I'm somewhat surprised as many teams went to the whip, so to speak, in terms of a horse racing analogy, to actually, remove star players that early in the season. But it does speak somewhat to the parity of the National Hockey League, and it does speak somewhat to the expectations of owners in today's salary cap world. A lot of teams spend into the cap right there. They expect great performance. It's not going to happen the way that owners would like, because quite frankly, everybody else is trying to.
That's something I did want to ask about too, just this parity in the league. Like, it feels to me like, because the cap has been flat and you can only get so good before you got to move guys. And then the bottom end gets helped out by the draft. And so they kind of creep up. And it just feels like this league where everyone is like 25 teams and then 2 up here and 2 down there, whatever the numbers are, 3 and 3. It just feels very sandwiched. And so, we spent an hour trying to sort out the Toronto Maple Leafs before this, but it's like they're kind of in the same spot everyone else is. So you have to find value on your contracts. And that's hard to do unless you're drafting really, really well and having, contributions from young guys, right?
Yeah, I think it's very transitional. I mean, one thing that I used to say that I really just copied from Brian Burke, because him and I had this conversation a long time ago, is you're never really treading water in the National Hockey League. You're either trying to move your club forward or take a couple steps backwards to take a bunch of steps forward. Right now, it just seems like there's a lot of teams almost treading water, not really able to move. I do think a lot of it, Justin, has to do with the salary cap being so tight the last number of years. It's just pulled everybody closer together. Is that good? Is that bad? That's a longer discussion, another argument, but it's clearly happened. Even Toronto, they can go on a little bit of a run and things look great. They could be off for a couple of weeks, and I'm sure it's doom and gloom in Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Just replay our first hour of our show.
Right. It is tough. It is tough to manage in that environment. It's also tough because owners expect more, as I touched on earlier, that less teams are willing to, maybe accept. We could use the Minnesota Wild as an example. Where are they at in their trajectory right now? Are they a team that's moving forward or a team that's moving back? They've had a lot of, continued playoff success, but where are they really at being a Stanley Cup contender?
Can't fans understand that there's $14-15 million of dead salary cap space there, and this is just an off year? Is that not good enough for Minnesota this year?
I don't think the fans, they're aware of it, but the expectations of fans are a lot like owners. They don't care how the money's spent.
Right.
They just recognize that the money is spent, and those are decisions that you pay your management to make. So you're always accountable for them. The tough thing for the Wild, Zach has continued to play up until this year, but he was playing at, a nominal amount. Ryan Suter turned around immediately. Yeah, I believe he's second in ice time on a very good club in the National Hockey League right now, making even more money than he was making before. Those are tough situations to swallow.
Lots of great stuff. Just one more question. Is that a turtleneck you're wearing on Zoom call or a neck protector?
No, it's a turtleneck.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I'm smiling and laughing, but very quickly, I do believe in neck guards after all the the horrific instance with a player in Europe, and I know it's undetermined what's going to happen there, but I've always thought it was a little bit crazy that we didn't have neck guards in the U.S. mandatory the way they are in Canada. I know a lot of people complained when we went to helmets for coaches a long time ago in the U.S., and I was always in favor of that. And I know that we were professionals, and maybe, we think we don't need a neck guard or we don't need a helmet to coach. But at the end of the day, it's not really about a few guys that were professionals. It's about what's better for the overall sport. That's how I feel about net guards.
Well said, Lots. Really appreciate your time and coming on our show as always, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Lots.
Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
You too.
Brian Lawton.
He also could have announced the release of the new iPhone 16 dressed like Steve Jobs. Like that. That was a solid black turtleneck.
He's looking pretty handsome out
We
there.
are, we are
Looking
seeing
good.
a lot more guys
On
with
Zoom.
net guards, which is great,
Yeah.
right? And-
Bertuzzi's wearing the
3 net
biggest
guards.
one I've
He's
ever
wearing
seen.
all the
oh,
net
he
guards.
went. He was like his was thicker than Brian Lawton's turtleneck.
It covers his chin.
His
It's
neck guard has a
so
neck guard.
huge.
And if he's scoring,
Love it.
It has not hindered his performance.
keep wearing it.
As
Yeah,
if he couldn't look any more like a beer leaguer in North York. But he puts on that thing and he looks even more like
Vancouver Kuzmenko, like that guy. What scored last year? 39.
That many? I knew it was 30
I don't know. He
plus.
had a lot of goals last year, and like Rick Tockett's not scared to put him in the press box.
But it's great.
How many goals?
Don't you think?
39 goals.
39.
Rick Tocchet isn't scared of anything. That's the
You,
thing.
you know,
Well, but it's send the message. You're not playing
so
well enough. Try again later.
If this was game 4 or game 5, and I know Rick wouldn't do it until like he's had sufficient amount of proof that Kuzmenko's not doing the little things right, but it sure helps when you get off to that start and people start looking at you and going, man, you're a good coach.
Yeah.
It's easy for him to
100%.
now, today, take a 39-goal scorer and put him in the press box and have people believe that there is a method to your madness right now, because a lot of coaches wouldn't have the guts to put a 40-goal scorer 20 games into the season
That's why
in the press box.
I'm always harping on the start of the season snowball. It can roll down the negative side of the mountain or the positive side, and it picks up speed either way. And the positive side is like, guys, it gets you buy-in as a coach. They're like, all right, we're winning. He knows what he's talking about. Let's just keep executing what he wants us to do. They stick to the structure better. You have more success. Big snowball. Smart. Works for you. Just get off to a good start.
It's game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. And I got 2 games tonight that I'm taking a look at. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in Colorado tonight to take on Avalanche.
Love that game.
And my greatest fears are being realized. I don't know if you saw the final score of Friday night after Vasilevsky's return, fellas.
They just win.
They won-
they
they-
win about like 8-2.
They
or
won
something.
8-2.
Against a pretty
Good team.
good team.
Yeah.
And now I'm just petrified. I said bad things about them earlier that people can talk about. I said they were bad. They weren't going to be good. Now they're good. And now they're the Lightning again.
Oh, boy.
And they're going into tonight against Colorado as an underdog again. They're plus 110 going into Colorado. I know Colorado's been playing well, but I feel like these guys are starting to feel good. So give me the Tampa Bay Lightning,
Yes.
as an underdog at plus 110 tonight.
I actually really like that bet. I looked at that myself. One of the reasons to be afraid of Tampa, I feel like, is they keep finding guys. And like Hagel's unbelievable, but that Asimon's pretty effective too. Like they just find these little passionate guys,
But the
man.
blue line still
still-
makes me nervous for them.
But
And
Vasilevsky sure
Sergachev
helps.
sometimes can look all world, and then there's sometimes you go, okay, that was really dumb.
Yes, that is true. Nikita Kucherov did pass Quinn Hughes and now leads the NHL in points.
Okay,
So
he is just sick.
he is
good.
on a
He's
tear.
otherworldly. And I think, is it you that have said it before, just that there's no more deceptive guy
Yeah.
in the league? When he comes over the blue line, I legitimately have zero idea what he's going to do.
No, he does. Yeah.
He's got this
Usually
stick
you're like,
halfway
oh,
up
you
here.
can see how this is unfolding.
and he
It's
like kicks it to somebody.
Yeah,
You're
like,
like,
wait, what?
I think that's why Willie Nylander's game's gone to another level too. To me, he can disguise shot or pass.
Mhm.
Not Kucherov, but
But that was the
He's
one in
good.
Sweden, right? Where he could have shot it from the top of
Yeah.
the circles and he
Yeah.
walks in, makes the pass. Do you remember Kucherov's leave it breakaway move? Where
Oh,
he
it's-
literally wouldn't touch it?
I actually think,
where he pretends to go to his forehand
Yeah,
and
and
it
opens
slides
the goalie up
through
and-
the 5
but
hole.
he has one on a breakaway that he did against Braden Holtby that he didn't do on purpose, and everybody thinks he did on purpose. But the one that he did, I think it's Dubnyk that he did, or someone on the Sabres. Maybe not Dubnyk. Who'd he do it to on the Sabres?
He's done
Anyways,
it in game and in a penalty.
but the one in the penalty shot is legitimately a maybe the filthiest shootout goal ever because he pulls it off perfectly. It's really nice.
He's so good. Sometimes I think when he's not good, it's just because he's bored.
Yeah, he's just,
That could be.
he's
It's like one of those
sour.
like
He's
genius
very-
kids in class who's like, he's not
He
challenged.
just looks like
Put
sometimes
him
he
in a
goes,
higher league.
82 games. Why we play so many?
so looking at their cap picture, the Lightning, and what they have for draft picks, they don't have a ton of picks to work with to improve their deadline because they traded a whole draft class for Tanner Jeannot last year.
The cupboards are completely bare.
5 picks they traded for Tanner
But
Jeannot.
they have their second rounders in 25 and 26, and they have a first in 26. But outside of that, they don't have a ton. So
There's going to be a reckoning for this Lightning team. Is
Oh, yeah.
there not?
no, when I'm in a nursing home, they'll suck.
Yeah.
And the other game that I had a quick look at, I don't know if you guys watched the Sharks and Canucks on Saturday night. It was actually a really good game, and
For some feisty stuff.
yeah, and the Sharks played really well. I have to give them credit; they played pretty well. So I'm taking a shot with the San Jose Sharks on home ice against the Washington Capitals. They're plus 210, big underdog on home ice. They played great on Saturday, so give me the Sharks plus 210.
Travis Yost has a good article today where he talks about early in the season checking the standings and trying to make sense of who's good and not and how goal differential really helps and how the Capitals are like the only team that's way out there that's not actually very good.
And they look,
And you've said that to me. Not that you think they're not good, but not as good as their
and they
record.
can't score.
Yeah.
Can't score.
All right, we'll revisit a few things. We've got some news and notes.
Let me just finish this off there, fellas. That was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with more Real Kyper and Bourne. Breaking news on Real Kyper and Bourne. Minnesota Wild head coach Dean Evason fired.
Jeez.
Just came down. This is, we just moments ago, we were talking to Brian Lawton about the Minnesota Wild. And, I did hear rumblings about him this morning that his job may be in trouble. But there's some people that were mixed on whether or not Billy Guerin would pull the trigger or not on making a coaching change, because we did hear from him earlier where he said it's on the players.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily make you feel like a coaching job or coaching change was imminent.
But do you wonder if looking at this Wild team, which still has plenty of talent on it, if Guerin doesn't also look at the Western Conference and go, like,
No one's good.
No one's good. We're not done yet. Like, it's, if we can turn this thing around, but you go back right now about 2.5 weeks, they lose to the Rangers, the Sabres, the Stars, the Senators, the Leafs, the Avalanche, the Wings. Like, they're getting dummied every time they turn around. I kind of get it. Even if the coach isn't to blame, like, you don't have many things you can do, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have no cap, when you have $14 million of dead cap space. I mean,
that's a tough look, for a GM when it's like,
Yeah,
sure.
and it's one of the reasons why I asked Brian Lawton, but he said fans don't care.
No.
And the owner doesn't care.
And I also think, though, to Guerin's point, like they have players on this hockey team. This is not a terrible roster. Not the Oilers necessarily in terms of like, why aren't they better? But they're not far behind. They should not be as bad as they've been.
Sammy, anything out there officially yet?
Yeah, it's official.
Okay, and
Yeah.
who do they say is coaching the
Let me just quickly pull up
Minnesota Wild?
I'm sure it's my least favorite option, which is some guy who was already on the bench.
Interim.
Just a hunch.
Yeah, he was holding out all the good stuff.
I've been holding all my good
So,
ideas as an assistant
Dean
coach.
Evason and assistant coach Bob Woods relieved of their coaching duties.
Bob Wood's a good dude.
Dean did an excellent job.
That's in the statement. Dean did an excellent job.
He did an excellent job during his tenure with the Minnesota Wild, especially as head coach of our team. I'm very thankful for his hard work and dedication to our organization from Bill Guerin. Yeah, same thing with Bob Woods, but there's no thing on who's coaching here on the release.
I did hear rumblings this morning of the name John Hines, former New Jersey Devil head coach, and more recently, the last, 4 years, Nashville Preds.
Yeah.
But that's just one little
In terms of
bird
big names
whispering.
out there, you got Gerard Gallant, Claude Julien, who we had in our show.
Oh, yeah.
Who else is available? Joel Quenneville. Does he still exist?
I don't know where that is.
You don't think the league would let him?
I don't get the sense that the league's ready to give Joel another chance. I don't know. There's a lot of people behind the scenes pushing to get Joel reinstated, along with Stan Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know where Gary and the league are on.
Did the recent suit against Chicago hurt those guys' chances of coming back?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Which one? Sorry.
Well, there was another recent.
No. This is based on the original one right now. I don't think it's. I don't know if he's got a game plan, Gary Bettman, to keep him out a certain amount of time before he feels like it's enough time. I don't know. I haven't got a clue, and nobody else in our industry seems to have a good feel on Joel Quenneville's chances of returning.
To me, doesn't this feel like a guy, like a Gallant is the perfect thing right now? Like the quick bump guy, right?
Let me just say that my Twitter feed is already making jokes. Is Corey Perry going to get named head coach of the Wild?
Oh, my God.
Is that what's happening here?
Oh, my God.
Jeez, Twitter.
Gerard, I think, needs a team that has a realistic shot of going to a conference final or a Stanley Cup final.
He's not going to take on
that's not Minnesota
flailing team. The Wild are 5-10-4. They have a minus 20 goal differential right now. You know, it's been pretty basement, but again, we went over the West standings. Like, you're never too far out right now. So,
and Philip Gustafson, who was unbelievable for them last year, has been not unbelievable this year.
Funny how that works. So let me get this straight. Woodcroft gets fired, and the goalies are terrible.
Would you like to know his numbers in 11 games?
Sure, let's hear him.
He has a 394 goals against and an 881 save percentage.
Yeah.
Did he sign a new contract too?
He did, the offseason. Wasn't it like I think a 3-year, $3 million or so?
You know, my favorite thing is how
931 to 881 is a tough drop.
It is, and that's all the difference. You know, you look at the guys who are at the top of the standings right now. Vegas is doing really well. Aiden Hill has the best goals against in the league, 1.97. By the way, Jonathan Quick is second, but Cam Talbot is having a great run. Mm-hmm. You know, it just depends where you're playing sometimes for these guys.
Yeah, look at who's in front of those three fellers.
Yeah.
You know, the Kings defense is staunch. Same with the Rangers are playing amazing defensive hockey, and same with Vegas has the best D-core in the league.
This is something that Sam and I were talking about. You were taking many calls trying to figure out what's going on in the
Busy
NHL.
boy.
About teams that are legitimate in terms of outside of the pack of your average teams. Are the Kings in that group for you? Like, it's Vegas, Boston, Colorado, and maybe LA?
Listen, if
you throw Dallas in there for me too.
Where's the goaltending in LA on? Do they need to get another goalie, or are they going to be fine? That's
Cam Talbot's he's killing it.
I know, but is that all season long?
931 save percentage.
Jonathan Quick, like I had his career dead and buried.
Yeah.
Now,
did you see the no glove save he tried to make the other day? His glove fell off and he tried to catch a puck still. What a warrior.
He's always been a little squirrely.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah,
love
me too.
It's such a wild card position now for any team. And you mentioned Hill. Like, come on, nobody saw that coming for Vegas. And now he's the poster boy for every team in the league. Just make the saves that you're supposed to. We don't even want you to be great because then we're going to have to pay you. So just be good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, there is some merit to that. Finding the goaltending or finding good goaltending, it seems like such a challenge. So once you get it, hang on and just ride it for the year. Get that momentum.
Are we buying the New York Rangers separating themselves from the pack here?
Yes.
15-3-1.
We saw Jacob Trouba. There's some people... I don't know if it was Ken Campbell, Hockey News, wanted 25 games suspension.
25.
A lot of people kind of compared his slash to Marty McSorley. And I saw it. It looked not great.
Not great, Bob.
To not get a game?
Looking not great.
Insane.
Yeah.
And causing substantial damage, I guess, are two different things.
I think you can make the claim that, like, he's trying to, like, get the guy off him give him a shot with his left arm, the stick up.
Sure.
However,
that sounds fine. How about two?
No, I know. That's like, even if that's your claim, then it's still a suspension because you have to control your stick. It was a reckless swing.
Just quickly on the Wild, your John Hines birdie was correct. Michael Russo is now saying that John Hines will be the 7th coach, according to sources. So,
God, there's just no better
Do
way.
I get credit
to
for
get an
breaking
NHL
that on
coaching
our
job.
show?
I don't know. You want to send a tweet? Be like, I was his first.
No,
Check
those
the
days
ti-
are over.
Check the timestamps, baby.
Those
So-
are over.
Hines' NHL success, not great in New Jersey, not great in Nashville,
So where's the?
but he's coached in the league, and that's like
He looks so much like a guy I play hockey with. Like, I just looked at him.
bald.
Oh yeah, no, like the exact could be his
Yeah.
doppelganger. Anyways, continue. I'm just looking at his record. Yeah, like not. The furthest he's gone is the first round of the playoffs. Maybe he should have coached the Leafs.
hey.
Yeah, not great. Nothing really outstanding. Couple good years with the Devils, but that's pretty much it. You know, they made it to the playoffs twice with the Preds, but nothing spectacular.
I think the lineup. I mean, Kaprizov is the prize piece.
Yeah.
For him, and then you work around young players like Joel Eriksson-Ek and Boldy.
Yeah, Boldy's having a real tough go. He had 30 last year. He's got 1.
Yeah, Kaprizov's not having a great year either. He's got 18 points in 19 games, only 6 goals so far. He's minus 10. Like,
And he's a guy people pick for Hart Trophy
Yeah.
at times.
no,
you
he's
know,
been
like they love him.
unbelievable.
Zuccarello's leading the team with 21 points in 19 games, minus 5. Kaprizov minus 10, by the way.
Brodin on the blue line. Spurgeon.
It's crazy, too.
Good players.
Yeah, Brock
He's got some
Faber's-
good pieces.
Yeah.
That team to me is very similar to the one that was last year. That
Yeah,
was
had
decent.
113
Yeah.
points. It was a
Was
year
it
or
that
two
many?
ago. I think not last year, but the year
Yeah.
before they won 13.
But just to get back to Trouba and the Rangers,
I love him.
of course.
You know,
Oh
if
my
you put
God.
all the players' sticks in the middle and start a shinny game, Kipper's pulling out Trouba like right after McDavid.
Oh my
No,
God.
Marner, then he's pulling out Trouba.
He's so good at body checking.
I had to tell you,
He does it
if I was
extremely well.
picking guys to start my franchise with, defenseman wise, he would be embarrassingly high on the list.
Yeah.
It's
And
just,
you know
he's a captain. He's just a warrior.
And you know who's
nails
starting
guys.
You like his art?
who's
Love his art.
starting
his
to
art.
kind of look like Hedman is Keandra Miller.
Love him.
That's a common, I would say, in Toronto. If you're talking about who you trade Nylander for, that name comes up a lot.
But they wouldn't do it. The Rangers wouldn't do
Well, you don't think?
it. No. You can't find guys like that.
Yeah.
You can't. Like, you can't
Long,
find
fast,
6'6",
yeah.
mobile defensemen. You win Stanley Cups with Keandra Millers. And you don't trade forwards for defense straight up. I don't think so.
It does seem like there's a real dearth of great defensemen. It's funny in the NHL, and this, you guys tell me if you think I'm dumb. So in Canada anyway, we've stopped producing good goaltending.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like it's just not a focus. If you're an elite athlete and you want to play hockey in Canada, they want you to go skate and play. It also feels like we don't want to put those people in defense. You don't want to slow those people down. Go up front, play up front, and go score. And
Keandre's
skate.
American, too.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
Other countries are doing it pretty well at producing some of these guys. I know we have a ton of great defensemen in Canada.
Cancel
and all
best
that.
on best.
But it just feels like in Canada, all of our talent plays forward now, and maybe in the U.S. that's happening to some extent. Tough
Well,
to find
first of all,
D. You're at a
I think the
premium
parents.
now.
I think the parents are running away from putting their kid in that. Number one, it's
Well, I can tell you,
stinking.
I have a
expensive.
I have a 7-year-old, and I just don't even want him to try it. I don't want to pay twice as much gear for the pressure and have him stand instead of skate. Like I don't want that. So he's not even gonna have a chance. I mean, he'll do it like everyone else once or twice, but
And the second biggest problem is they're trying to teach them all the same. They
Yeah.
all look the same. The other reason why goalies are so interchangeable now is they're all the same.
yeah, it's like, is Aiden Hill, Logan
taught the
Thompson,
same.
maybe switch?
yeah, you truly put them both in net
yeah.
without a number?
There's
no
no,
idea. who's who.
distinct personality traits anymore.
I'm trying to think
in
of the most.
NHL goaltending
Peter
department.
Mrazek's pretty dysfunctional in that.
Yeah, he's a wild card,
he
but he's
is.
also no good.
right.
Excellent point by you.
Yeah. Like, I guess,
It's
like
not
who's
just
the
a hat rack over there. Eh?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not wearing a hat today. Maybe I should have. That hair's looking a little wild. But like Vasilevsky's been the best goalie the last little while. He's pretty boring in there.
Yeah, but he's flexy and
Yeah.
he's a little more dynamic than
He
your average
is.
guy.
He
But,
is.
like you think of like when I grew up, it's like Cujo. He's just flying around
Quick
there.
has a little bit of that
Yeah,
as he
Quick
takes
for
the
sure.
bottom
Sure.
of the net
Yeah.
away.
But like no goalie's turning their stick around and flicking it up over the like Cujo was. Or no one's like Hasek.
Well,
or,
or like Turco was so great at
Yeah.
breaking pucks out. That's gone.
yeah. Wall
Lack of personality in position.
Wall wanders a little too much for me.
I like Wall.
Have you noticed that
I've
though?
decided I really like I'm entertained by the personality of
Yeah.
him too.
But have you noticed the wandering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonders a
He's
little too
really
much.
got the. I don't really care.
Whatever.
He's got the perfect temperament, I think, to play net.
Yeah.
You got to not care enough to
Which
care.
is why Willie works in Toronto too. Because
That
he's like,
makes sense.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Whatever. Just another day. I think it's tough to carry that with you when you're sensitive.
Some good matchups tonight, boys.
All right. Let's go through. What do we got?
Got them right there in front of you.
Which one's outside of your Tampa Bay that you'd like to?
I like watching the Rangers a lot.
Rangers at Buffalo. Hey, Buffalo is at a crisis point.
Buffalo at Rangers.
Buffalo at Rangers. Like that's a team that had some expectations.
Would you, if you're Kevin Adams, go after Pat Kane and be one of the few teams apparently that would offer him a multi-year deal?
Do you not feel like Buffalo has to do something? I was someone who one of my few preseason bets was that the Sabres would make the playoffs this year, which is not good, and
Oopsie.
I consider that a lost bet. But like that team has a lot of things that we liked the direction, right? It was like, oh, how big Cousins big and Powers
Yeah.
big and Dahlin's big and Thompson's big. It was like big and young, and then now they didn't fill in around them. To me, this is a lot of GMs do this where they say, we're just going to let it come naturally. We're going to draft and develop. At some point, you got to add. And Detroit added last year. They added like 7 guys, and all of a sudden, Detroit's 11-6 and in a playoff spot. So they got to do something, Kip.
We expect Pat Kane to make an announcement this week.
Yeah? Do you or do we? I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is supposed to be the week where I think.
Can
It
I guess?
happens.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Definitely Florida.
I got one. Buffalo.
Florida cannot give him, I think, what other teams can give him.
Buffalo's going to give him 3 years, and that's why he's going to sign there.
You're calling the retirement contract.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And you can sell to him the direction of the team, the great young talent. Justin Bourne said we need to add. You're the guy.
That's
You're
true.
going to be that piece that's going to help us get going.
I heard this handsome guy with glasses say that we need to
Yeah,
add.
he was
so.
a great idea. We hadn't even thought of adding good players. So
Oh, well.
Washington at San Jose. Ovi needs a hat trick just to kind of get him back on course.
I know
a little bit,
Vetch
don't you
trick.
think?
Remember those commercials?
What do you think?
I don't.
No, you don't see it?
I don't want it to happen.
I
I
think-
live in fear of him breaking Gretzky's record every day, and I don't want him to do it. So
I think the
Gonna stick to
Capitals
that.
are due for a little Tom Petty time here. A little free falling. they lost. They lost 5-0 to Edmonton. The underlying numbers don't love them. I think it's coming for them.
Florida and Ottawa. Doesn't Ottawa have to dig themselves out of the basement a little bit here?
Yeah, you know that article I mentioned that said that Washington's not as good as their numbers?
Yeah.
They say that Ottawa is better than their numbers. So
yeah, they're dead last.
What's your
right
call? Ottawa and Florida tonight.
I'm picking Ottawa. Ottawa's going to start to go on a run. They're 8-8. They're going to be a wild card threat this year still.
All right. We're going to hold you to it. Tomorrow's
As you
show.
should. That's what we do here.
Listen, I'm wrong a lot.
Our thanks to Brian Lawton, former general manager, coach, agent, I don't know, mascot. Is there anything he hadn't done?
Done it all.
Hockey version of the Dos
For
Equis,
Nick
man.
Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we're back tomorrow.